What is up, guys? We're the Caper Vapers. I'm Zach.
I'm Sam.
And today we're going to be doing a review that we posted on our Instagram that we said we'd do a little while ago. We're going to do the EVIC VT. This little job right here. I know I posted a picture of it. You guys said you wanted a review, so here it is.
And right now I'm actually vaping on one of our first ever mods. It's EVIC Life with a Dark Horse. And I'm vaping right now on one of our first ever builds. Or actually mods, I should say. EVIC Life with a Dark Horse RDA on there. Leaking a little juice. So rocking a Mech mod. So we didn't start off using our regulated mods or even the EVICs. We started off with these nice little Mech mods, playing around with them.
Actually, our first ever one.
Yeah, the first one I ever bought is this beat up old 4.9 mod.
He bought it and passed it on to me. That's what got me into vaping.
And that pretty much died, but we keep it for sake to show that, hey, you don't forget where you come from.
Alright, so let's dive into this EVIC. It is a 60-watt temperature-controlled device. I bought this kit at Mr. Darcy's Vapor Emporium in Hillsdale, Michigan. It came with the actual mod itself and the Ego 1 Mega Tank. It did not come with the ring, and this is not the stock drip tip, little disclaimer there. It, however, did come with this little rubberized case that wraps around the mod. You know, if you drop it, you don't scratch it up, you don't make it look like crap. So, I've been vaping on this a little bit, and I will say I might not be the biggest fan of temperature control at this point, because I really don't feel too much of a difference between, say, 200 Celsius and 315 Celsius, which is the range of this device. And it's just, I feel like I have better control of the temperature building with Canthal. However, this is a tank. I've never actually built an RDA with nickel wire, I should say. What I do like about this device, however, is the battery life. I can vape on this with a build that ohms out around 0.2 for a day or two without having to worry about charging it. And it's got many modes on it. You can either do it temp control with nickel wire. Whoops. You can swipe it to the left, temp control with titanium wire, or you can run it in variable wattage mode. You can also scroll down the menu here. Whoops. And you can change which way the battery displays. It will show you the little bar like you just saw on the screen there. It'll show you how many puffs you've got left, or how much time you have left on the battery.
Now, something I would like to point out before we go any farther is that there's a large difference between being in a Mech mod, because I can already feel this one's starting to get warm, because I hit my vape all the time. I love it. It's one of the things I do love doing. I love building. And something, too, we noticed is you can't really we've seen people put low resistance builds on them, but it doesn't want to fire the way that normally it would, like, let's say, on our E-Leaf 100 watts. And where I can blow clouds with my E-Leaf 100 watt build. Like, I've got a sequential coil build on my Velocity RDA. And that one actually is pretty cool. You can check it out on the Instagram. But something I've noticed on that is it doesn't put out the vape like a 100 watt device, like a 200 watt device. And really, I mean, I feel like it's kind of outdated, because you can get a new Sigeli Fuchai with the 200 watt temp control, or there's a few other ones, like the Snow Wolf 200 watt temp control, and there's a new one out that's kind of got this weird hand shape to it, but a lot of people say it's good. And we really think that it's cool to have a 60 watt device for someone just getting in, but really, honestly, it's for an experienced vapor, go with the 200 watt. I mean, you can always run it lower, but it gives you that range. Here you kind of stop at 60 watts. That's the reason we stopped using our E-Leaf 50 watts. I mean, we had these, and the reason we stopped using them because we want more vape. And we didn't really feel you can get it from that. Also, before we go any farther is, hey, we're going to tell you guys, what kind of juice you vape on right now, Zach?
We are vaping on Black Market from GRE Liquid's Murder Midden line. This particular bottle is 6 Nic Max VG. It's almost like an Irish coffee flavor. That's sort of what we're getting off of it. We really enjoy this flavor. It hits well out of a tank. Now, of course, you do get better flavor with RDAs, but for putting this in a tank with Max VG, it is coming out pretty good.
And I'm vaping on big-ass clouds. and that's the Cumulonimbus. It's a green tea with mixed berries. I love it. It is an amazing flavor. It really challenges the fog. Both great lines from Grand Rapids E-Liquid, but I love green tea, and that flavor nails green tea with flavors in there. It's kind of like the ones you get from the store, and you get that great mixed berry flavor in there, or that blueberry flavor, and I love it. It's a great flavor.
All right, now let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about the EVIC. We've got the Ego 1 tank on here, and what I like about this tank is that the air control is variable like that. It's not little notches. It's one continuous thing. So you just turn it that way. It's got airflow on both sides. I like that. Your vents for the battery are on the bottom, and this does have a LiPo battery. So if it poops out on you, you got to send it back in to have it worked on. No way you can swap it out on your own like we can with our EVIC 100 watts, which to me is sort of a downside. Even though it does seem like, from my experience with this, that the battery in here is going to be something that's going to last. Another thing I've noticed is that this is not a mod you want to put in your pocket with keys. This screen, I know you probably won't be able to see the scratches very well on the camera, but I put in my pocket with some keys and it scratched the screen. Now, of course, you can still read it and everything. It's just one of those defects that starts to bother you after a while.
Something, too, about this is it's cool it comes with a case. You can see the nice little silicone case that comes on it. I mean, you can just peel them right off. You can see that nice little silicone case, like a phone case you'd get. And something I found out from experience with these and looking at them is I don't like it on there. Granted, it's a great way to protect it, but the problem you have with that is if you get like an RDA on there and you start dripping liquid, and then you start getting pockets in there, and you start getting e-juice caught inside your inside there. And granted, there's not really anything there, but for preference-wise, especially with a charging port on this side, you don't want e-juice getting in there and being held in. So that's something I don't like about it. I mean, if you're going to do something protective on there, build with a protective coating on the outside. Don't really put it... The case is nice, but I'm not a fan of them. Some people are, some people aren't. I'm one of the ones that isn't a fan of it. And honestly, I mean, for me... Cool, you can get some clouds out of this, but it's not something that I would vape on every day. They're cool. I know a lot of people like them, but I'm just iffy on that. Right now, we're going to swap an RDA on there. Actually, I'm going to take this one off of the AV Live we got going on. Swap it onto his. Right. And you're getting out a more familiar device that you guys have seen us use multiple times. You leave 100 watt with the Mutation XV5.
Alright, now what I have to do to make this usable with the RDA I'm running, since I have Kanthal wire and not nickel or titanium, which is the only types of wire this can read the temperature of, I click the power button 3 times, and then I have to make sure that the temp control is flashing, and I swipe to the right until it shows me my power, and that is reading at 60 watts right now. That's the top of the power range for this. I will say you can control the wattage while you're using temp control. What it really does is it just controls how fast your wires heat up to that certain temperature that you want. So you can blow pretty decent clouds with this. It's not going to be as big as, you know, him blowing giant clouds out of a Mutation on an EVIC 100 watt. That's just a given fact. But for what it is, a 60 watt device with a battery that's going to last you for ages, it's pretty good. And you can pick these up for around $70 at most local vape shops.
Yeah, I mean, depending on where you get it from, the prices may vary. You can always buy them online if you want to wait for them. Personally, by the time I spend the money like you do on one of those, I would literally buy it as Sigeli 150. EVIC 100 watt, multiple other things, because like I've said, I've got that sequential coil build in there, and me and Zach tested it out the other day, and I could get it just as cool as vape as his. At what was the temp on it? It was
probably around 200, something like that, like 200 Celsius.
Yeah, it was like 200 Celsius, and I could get the same kind of vape out of it just by building the coils a certain way, so you get a nice cool vape out of it. And I'm using Kanthal. I'm not using anything special. It's just a nice sequential coil build, and I'm not... Everyone, like, he loves it. He likes it because it's a good mod. I'm not a fan of it because I like clouds, and I'm not a fan of having all this other crap on there. Like, to me, sometimes you get to the point where this stuff gets too technical. So vaping on it might be a little bit difficult because, oh, I'm switching over to nickel wire, and then I got to build, go through the whole process of this whole screen. Like the EVIC 100 watt, nice and simple, shows you right there. A lot of the new temp control models have all the extra screens on there to show you different things. Like this has got all these different options on there, and I'm just not a fan of it. I like simple stuff. Not because I'm simple-minded, but because it's easier to use.
Alright, so let's just do a list of pros and cons on this. Pros, I like the build quality of it. It feels pretty solid in your hand. It's sort of a hefty device. I like the ability to control the temperature, even though I don't notice too much of a change on it. I feel like that might just be me personally, and other people might enjoy that more. The cons, I don't like that it's sort of technical. I feel like with the power range on this, it's more or less for a beginner vapor. And I feel like when you're first getting into a device, having to go through all those screens, it might take too long of a tutorial and it might put some people off. I feel like an alternative that might be looked at is usually like, say, a Kanger Subox starter kit. Those are pretty comparable to this, even though it lacks temperature control. It's got the simplicity and the ability to change the battery out. So that's where I stand on it. It's a device that I'm going to continue using, but it's not my daily driver.
All right, my pros. I do like the stability of the device. It's a heavy, nice, feels good in your hand. It's very ergonomic. They really went smart with having the button opposite of the RDA. A lot of people are doing that now. For the price, I would definitely get an EVIC 40-watt temperature control. Or they got the 60s now. They got an EVIC 60-watt temp control. I would definitely go with one of those. It's less expensive, works just the same. It's got these cool plates you can change on the outside. Another pro on this, I do like you can split between an RDA and the tank. Downside, the tank's not the greatest. I've noticed a little bit of feedback on it when using it, where you get that little bit of liquid back in there, and then you got to it's gurgling, and then you got to go clean it out. Along with the nickel coils, they don't seem to last as long as like a standard Canthal coil, from what I've discovered. And also, if you forget to change it from temp control because you have all this stuff on there, then you can run into problems. Firing a nickel wire with regular power on wattage, it can cause problems.
Nickel poisoning for one.
Yeah, nickel poisoning for one. And two, another thing I don't like is the case. I mean, if you're going to build it, it's got a nice powder coat on there. I mean, you can see it's got a nice powder coating on there. But really, I mean, you got all this nice cover, you got this nice paint job on there, and this nice coating on there, and it's being covered by a rubber case. So you get that kind of matte look to it, which kind of feel like takes away from the racing stripes, because it's kind of got a Mustang feel going on with the white with the blue racing stripes. And one last pro and con, I don't like this little lever up here. I mean, honestly, I'm not a fan of it because that spring breaks in there, you're screwed. I mean, up there, it's nice to a certain extent, but at the same time, you could easily have analog buttons where you can just press it. I understand they're trying to go for a cool look to it, but I don't like that. And I'll finish on a pro, is I do like the functionality of it. It works great and has good battery life. I mean, the battery lasts a while on these things, and you can charge it up and use it all day between a tank and an RDA. But it's got a very nice feel to it, and honestly, not my daily driver, like Zach said. I'm not going to use it daily. I like my EVIC 100 watt. I would probably going to end up getting a Sigelli. And this is something that I would say good for beginner vapor. For more advanced vapors, get something with more power. 60 watts is not enough.
In summary, it's sort of like taking the body of a Shelby Mustang and swapping a V6 in it and sticking it with an automatic transmission.
No, I think it's like taking a Shelby Mustang and putting a 4-cylinder in it and a gearbox that's just rubbish and not even working the way it should. You have this look of power, but when it comes to get up and go, not really there.
So that's our opinion on the EVIC VT. If you guys agree, if you guys disagree, let us know. We're always open to feedback. And until then, have you got anything else, Sam?
I'm good.
All right, we are good. Caper Vapers out.